Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
This is our YouTube channel. Subscribe to this channel and give this video a like.
Check out the podcast below in the description as well. Subscribe to that bad boy.
Yeah, we were just done with our podcast when the breaking news hit. Cam Newton signs with the Patriots. We did a Cam Newton Patriots video, just immediate kind of reaction now that we've had a night to sleep on this. I got to tell you, man, I think the only thing slowing Cam Newton down in New England is health. If he's healthy, he could be great again.
It really is crazy how his career got derailed by injuries, right? It wasn't just he was shot physically. Remember the last year of Peyton Manning when he couldn't throw, or Eli, it just didn't look the same. Cam couldn't walk and his shoulder didn't work. And you and I have been up close to him in press conferences years ago when he played the Niners. I mean, a physical anomaly in a league of physical freaks, right? He really, really stands out. He has I would imagine, his whole life. Went to Florida in the peak of his powers. When he transferred, junior college national championship, Auburn national championship, first pick overall. Let's call a spade a spade. He resurrected kind of a dud franchise, right? The Panthers, I mean, kind of paralleled the Jaguars, it felt. Like when I thought the Jaguars and Panthers were kind of 1 and 2, when you say the Panthers now, to me, they resonate like a legitimate NFL franchise. Correct?
Yeah, I would put the Panthers ahead of the Jags. They had the Kerry Collins year, but...
Yeah, but the Jags had a couple years like in the early 2000s. But my point is, they went to the
Panthers
Super Bowl.
had been to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they had more success, but they still were a little startup franchise.
Yeah, it's just kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, just the colors or whatever. When you say the Panthers, they come up relevant franchises in that division, and he played the major role in doing that. And remember Ron Rivera, after he got fired, he still gave a press conference, and he was kind of defensive a little bit. And he's like, the stats show, when we've had a healthy Cam, we won. Plain and simple. This is a quarterback league. When I've had Cam healthy, we won, and we go to the playoffs. And to me, that just gets back to the premise of what he's trying to say. When Cam's healthy, his teams go to the playoffs. It's like, if you got James Harden, if you got Steph Curry, if you got player X, you're going to the playoffs. That's the same thing with quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, if you have Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Mahomes right now, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, there's that group of probably 7-8 guys. You are going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I think Cam falls under that category. Now, when healthy, because the last 2 years he's battled multiple separate injuries, right?
The terrifying she-monster, Liz Frank.
Yeah.
Right. Far worse than Miss Jones fracture. The shoulder rotator cuff. He had the concussion the year before. He was having a really good year, though.
I think wouldn't that be the scarier thing? Because we've seen enough videos now. He's moving well on his feet. The shoulder, when it's your throwing shoulder, pitching elbow, there are certain things, like as someone who throws something, without your shoulder, the elbow, that is a major red flag. And yeah. I talked to people in the league that just were concerned that his shoulder was never going to be the same. And I don't think we'll know that until he plays.
Well, but if it's not, then we're not talking about the same guy. But if he's healthy, the report has been that Cleveland talked to him, but the Patriots are the only team to offer him a contract, right? That's why they got him for next to nothing. And maybe we're able to keep it close to the vest until they had to reveal the punishment for filming the Bengals sideline for a documentary. But
just showing what the scouts do. Coach Belichick, it's touch your elbow, touch your wrist, touch your head, blitz coming off the right.
Yeah. This is for Patriots.com. Nothing to see here.
No.
But I was thinking about it like this since we talked about it in the immediate. It's like, okay, Cam didn't have another offer. So in the most real sense, he needed the Patriots more than the Patriots need him, right? Because no one else was signing him.
Because the Patriots were going to play football, whether they had Cam Newton or not. Cam Newton, without a contract offer, is just not in the NFL.
Right. So it's hard to say what I'm about to say because what you just said is true. That's just the reality of the situation. But I think in some ways the Patriots almost need Cam more than Cam needs them. Now, again, you could logically argue, well, that can't be true because Cam doesn't have another team. But I think if we go back to Cam's incredible MVP year, go look at who was on that team. Who was he throwing the ball to that year? Who were the leaders in receptions? Greg Olsen, Okay, fantastic tight end. Jericho Cotchery, Ted Ginn Jr., Corey Brown. Those are his number one receiver, and Devin Funchess. Those are his receivers. Now he had good running backs, right? He had a good running back. He had Jonathan Stewart and he had Mike Tolbert. But
and he was kind of like a running back too, right?
He was the truest sense of most valuable player. And I think because health is such a big question here, I think you could put Cam on a lot of teams and still, if he's healthy, get one of the better players in the NFL, right? Like, I think you could put him on the Bears. You could have put him on the Browns. You could put him on the Texans. You could put him on...
Doesn't this speak to kind of when his career took off like a rocket ship at Auburn? You go back and look at that Auburn roster. It's not like an Alabama or LSU team, right? He carried a team with Nick Fairley was another first rounder, but that team was not littered like typical SEC first rounders. And he just said, get on my back and we won a natty.
You don't get free agent quarterbacks with this upside ever.
Who's not 38. He's 31, right?
Yeah, he just turned 32.
I think he's going to be 32 this fall, maybe.
But you just don't get it. So even though I know this was his only option, I think what he can bring to them is even greater than – because it's a lot of this, like, can Bill resurrect him? Like, look, man, I think if Cam was healthy, a lot of places could resurrect him. He'd resurrect him. Now, I'm not taking credit away from Bill or Josh McDaniels because this could be a big year for them. They have never had a guy like this.
I'm going to push back in the sense of that the Patriots needed him. Like, the Patriots would get credit for this, but there's an element of Cam's healthy. Cam's just a good player, and he was sweet before them, and he was sweet again. Right? The Patriots didn't get any credit for signing Revis. Now, Revis helped them win a championship or keep Talib because those guys were just good. They got him for the right price. I think that's somewhat here, though this guy, unlike those guys, had, like, legit fallen on hard times because they would have benefited a lot if they made the playoffs with Jarrett Stidham. They're getting a shitload of credit. Right? But there is an element of this is the way we do business. We just look for cheap deals. We thrive on cheap deals. It's really incredible. Like, this is, of course they signed a guy for a veteran minimum who's a former MVP. Like, of course. They are never signing the Amari Cooper for $60 million guarantee. Belichick would rather call it quits at Nantucket than do that. He lives for this. But there is, and I think he would tell you, this is like what you just said about a supporting cast. One thing New England, and they've had moments with Gronk and even Aaron Hernandez and obviously the Randy Moss teams, but the last like 5-year iteration was a lot of Edelman and a lot of Hogan and a lot of like James White. Who's like, well, I'm telling you, James White's the best pass catching running back. Well, yeah, I'd say Saquon or Christian McCaffrey is. James White's decent, but he like plays for them. Cam is used to doing this. Cam is not like coming from the Saints, right, or the Rams or whoever, where he's like, yeah, I've been used to like 4 guys making over $10 million on my offense. Skill guys, let's roll. Cam is kind of like, yeah, I got to do the majority of the work. And I think Bill can kind of mesh that as, like, yeah, we don't have Jerry Rice or Randy Moss or Gronk anymore walking through the door. But what we hang our hat on is scheming guys, getting you, if you just listen to where we tell you to get the ball, look at what Brady has done for so long, and then use some of your God-given ability to make things out of nowhere, we're going to fucking win because our defense is going to be good. And when Cam's had good defenses, like on the MVP year and just some of their other playoff years, and he's just played solid, this team's going to the playoffs. Like, I don't see how, if he's healthy, they're not a playoff team, guy.
Well,
because Belichick's just too good of a coach, like, to just figure out the perfect way to use Cam, right?
Yeah, I guess what I would say is just I don't – if that happens, if the Patriots win 11 games this year, there will be a lot of look what Bill did for Cam. And what I would say is look what he and Norv Turner were doing before his shoulder fell off 2 years ago, right? When he was 6-2. What was his touch? They were 6-2. What did he have?
15 and 4.
15 touchdowns and 4 picks.
But wouldn't you say if they're just good together, you'd be like, yeah, Cam was a former MVP, a good player, and Belichick's Bill Belichick, of course, are kicking everyone's ass. Like, why didn't – if the Chargers are like 7-9 with Tyrod, it's like, why didn't you just sign Cam for a 1-year deal? Like this, the guy was good, right? That's, to me, that's going to be the pushback. Now, the one thing Belichick won't have to fight, like what team should have signed him? Because like the Browns, for example, part of the Patriots, they don't have a guy that they have to start. To me, if I'm the Browns, like I have to start Baker. I just drafted a number 1 overall. Or if I'm the Jets or I'm the Bills, I've drafted these guys really high. Like those guys, Cam doesn't want to be a backup, nor should he. And one, like if you go to that place, it's kind of rigged against you if you're Cam, even if the deals are the same. This is the only place to me that could be good and that will allow you to start. That's,
yeah, I think
to
the
me,
places you could even
combo.
argue it, right? Like Cincinnati, do they want Burrow to sit a year? Okay.
Yeah, to me,
Indy
once you draft Joe Burrow
Phillip
1 overall, like he's just
Indy
starting.
before Phillip Rivers. Well, Frank Reich wanted Phillip Rivers. Jacksonville, tanking. Too much upside.
Why would Cam go to Jacksonville?
Well, right. Well, of course. I'm just saying the point is, like, you can only come up with a handful. I mean, you could argue, well, Gruden gave 7.5 to Mariota. He should have given $1.5 million to Cam. Okay, you could argue that. I'm looking through all the teams in the NFL, and we did this on the reaction.
That would be a decent example. Like, would you be better off? The thing is, how could anyone with a straight face, if Cam's healthy, is beating out Derek Carr, right?
But to me, that's a worse spot for Cam.
Well, they could be good.
But I'm just saying, if you're Cam, I think that's like you have to. Now, maybe you could argue him and Jarrett Stidham are going to have a real quarterback battle. Because there's a chance you just end up backing up Derek Carr if you're not healthy to start the year, and you maybe never take his job.
The pushback is if he is healthy. For example, on that one, like Cam's a better player than Mariota, right? So if you could just get the one player.
Yeah.
Now, there are dynamics with quarterback rooms that are – it's not as black and white as any position, right? Like if you just want to get a good D lineman, you just sign the good D lineman and let the chips fall where they may. With quarterback, there is sensitivity to it. Like if you were the Arizona Cardinals, for example. Well, you could have had Cam we just drafted Kyler Murray number 1 overall. He's our franchise. Like we can't just – there's a balance, right?
See, this is a great point by you because a lot of
Patriots
people –
was easy.
It's right to say this is a great place for Cam just because it's the Patriots and it's Bill. But to your point, it's also a great place for Cam because it's the least other stuff that you have to deal with in terms of a quarterback controversy. And this is not a controversy, but it's just it's crazy to say this because everyone's always looking for a quarterback. And this is not just Cam because you and I, anyone that's been listening to the podcast for like 2 years have heard us talk about this a lot. It's easy to say, there's only 12 good quarterbacks in the NFL. Well, at any given time, it's true. But at any given time, there's 25 teams trying to figure out if the guy they have is the right guy or not. And maybe part of this is just that Cam hit it at the wrong time. Although you'd argue this. If Cam was healthy and a free agent.
He couldn't get a physical during Corona.
There's a lot going on. But if he was healthy, there'd be a lot of teams like F it.
I think if he was healthy, he would have been signed relatively quickly. It would have been. Like if he just would have got your classic new owner, brand new coach, hitting the reset button, and he had got hurt last year, but now he was fully healthy, he would have been making the rounds. I think he would have had offers, right? I think it would have been completely different. This was, Richard Sherman's tweet about it's disgusting. This guy, part of it, Richard, is the market, right? It was the timing, given the year, his unhealth. You couldn't give him a physical. There were some circumstances that are just unnormal, right? That are not typical. Like 2020 is a kind of, let's hope, an outlier year for guys in his situation. We kind of saw it with Gurley. Like, well, no one can physical him. No one wanted to trade for him, even if they're going to eat some of the money.
I will say it's kind of weird. But it's kind of weird to me. One of the teams that really the Panthers would be a team to me. It's like you got a new coach. Is Teddy really taking you to the next level? Like, you got so much more upside in this guy. Now, maybe organizationally, whatever they're but, like, this is you could argue Cam should still be in Carolina. That Carolina shouldn't have done what they did.
I always push back with do coach of Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly when he kept Michael Vick. You got a 6-year contract. Just see what you got. Like, everyone's so quick to rush guys out when the one thing that was clear, right? Cam was pretty offended by the way, and we defended Cam in the sense of like, why are you guys saying like, thanks for the career, you haven't cut him? You guys need to take a fucking deep breath. It was pretty clear that, and listen, the owner's an impressive guy. He paid cash for an NFL franchise in 2018. Like that shows you how rich the guy is. So he's a successful individual. They were a little over their skis, I thought, just with the handling of this whole deal. And the respect that this individual's earned for a fan base who has only had this team for 20 years, and every fucking good memory, 90% of them, come on this guy's watch. They kind of blew it, guy, the way they handled it.
Now, they would not have gotten Cam back for $1 million, right? $1.5 million.
No, it would have been like 17.
But it's like they just spent 33 on Teddy. They just give Teddy 33 guaranteed.
The other thing is like, listen, Teddy's Teddy at this point in time. Marginal marginal starter, solid backup. They'll probably be a 5 or 6 win team. I just would have taken my chances with Cam for a year for $17 million. You got him on a year-to-year deal, right? Wasn't Cam's contract situation the best type quarterback contract situation when you're not sure either way? But you know that if it is good, it's an incredible discount. If it's not good, we're going to draft high again, and I'll just get rid of the guy.
Yeah.
They really rushed to kick him to the curb when they could have easily played it out another season.
Yeah.
Who's to say, if I told you Cam Newton was with Matt Rule and some of these new offensive weapons, who's to say that they couldn't have been that competitive?
What we gave all these LSU guys, him and Joe Brady, all this credit for adapting and changing and then they have this guy right in front of them and they don't want him.
Back to the Carolina Panthers, though, if Cam is really good and healthy and Teddy and they're just not good, they will take some heat. What was the speed in which you booted him for?
Now, they might argue that if you guys are throwing out, right, if you're going to play devil's advocate to what we're saying here, is that's one of the biggest ifs in the NFL. Is Cam Newton going to be healthy? He's been hurt every year for 3 straight years.
It's a big if. Big if.
But it seems
it's a big if in New England. There's no guarantee with this, right? There is a lot of unknown with this player. Hint, why he signs for under $1 million. I mean, that's just the fact.
But this is as good as it gets for everybody involved.
Yeah, thank you for the story, Bill Belichick.
I guess for Cam, it would have been better to get $13 million, but
true.
This could be special, man. Special. Like this video. Tell us what you think in the comments below.